So hi again. I'm back once more to show you the next stages of our fairy house build. Just to explain, the reason I do these videos in different parts, stages, is because unfortunately my internet here is not too good, and trying to upload anything longer than a 10 or 15-minute video just doesn't work out. So that's why I have to do it in sections. So just to come back and show you here, I've started painting this house just to show you how it's going to look, because obviously it'd take me too long to do every single bit of it on the video. But you can see now that I'm colouring in the different bricks how it's going to look out. So I have stuck my little pieces of egg box in brick formation all over the house and stuck my little sticks on the front door. So what I've done for the paint is I've got white paint and added tiny bits of black in varying degrees so that it will give me different greys. So a tiny dot will give me a very light grey, a bit more will give me obviously darker, and then a good bit darker to make it quite strong. So I can mix those up just so I can finish off here, just to show you. Hold on now, I'll just tilt this down a tiny bit so you're getting to see it. Yep. So we've got a nice lightish grey. You can use your brush to mix it with this. For this part you're going to need a few different size brushes, but because we're going to need a skinny brush to do what we call the pointing between your stones, which will be a kind of finished element in a minute, so might need a bit more. You want to make sure that the greys are all just different shades, so that looks fairly good there. And then the darker, yeah, I'm using, you can use a stick or a brush, I'm just using a little mini palette knife there to mix. And my very sophisticated paint palette is the lid off a plastic tub. I reuse everything I can, every which way I can, because I think it's a shame to be throwing out when you could repurpose things up. So always remember, clean your equipment as well. It keeps it from getting ruined on you. I have a cloth there on my lap. I've probably should have my apron on. So I've painted around most sides and done the paler paint. I'm just going to finish off with, sorry, just hold it one moment, a few more dark bricks on the front. That's not very dark, might need to go a wee bit darker. Just add in a tiny bit more. And because I'm working in different greys, I just wipe off my brush on a bit of tissue. I don't need to clean it in between each one because it will all just blend. Okay. So I had started doing one or two dark bricks on this. I'm just going to put in a couple more darker ones. I'm going to make that so you can choose whichever bricks you want to make darker or lighter. Doesn't have to be a whole lot. I'm going to stick a bit of paint up there just to cover that little gap up. Dark one in the middle there. And that one there. Might make that one a bit darker now. my hands, yes, no worries. And I need to do a few pale ones on this side, so I've left them free. The pale colour actually shows up very well against all the rest. But then what I'm going to do is, when this is dry, I'm going to go in between all the gaps with black paint. And don't worry if it's not super straight or anything like that, or you get smudges on other things. If you look at a natural stone wall, there's always bumpy, crooked lines. Nothing's ever, stones don't come dead straight like that. So, and this is a nice little stone cottage, so you don't need to worry about it being all perfect straight lines. So we'll do in a few. And if you do it and you look at your piece and you kind of think, that looks a bit too dark, I'd like a few more light stones, or I'd like a few darker stones, you can always just let it dry and go back over it. I use acrylic paints all the time and they dry quite quickly, and they're very handy that way. Okay. Just a few more. So this kind of, you're nearly there with your house and nearly at the very final decorating parts. And you could make a garden around it. You could put like trees and plants, or when this is dry you could decide to paint up the walls a bit. And I'll show you that there now. Just see how it comes. I think it might need one or two more light coloured bricks there in the front. Might be nice to add a bit more light into it. Yeah. There we go. So you can see each side is painted. And I'll get a thin brush and go around through all of those with the black to outline where the bricks are. And that's called the cement between the stones. It's called pointing. So I'll let that dry just a minute. And I'm going to wipe a little bit of space here because I want to put another colour out. So I'm going to put a wee bit of black out because I will use that. And first thing I'm going to paint here is, if you remember the little window we had, I'm going to paint the window frame black. If you don't have paint, you could use colours. You could use markers and colour in things. So whatever you've got you can use. That's what it's all about, trying to work with what we've got. I did never know these were little stirry sticks. I think it was a perfect little window made for it. You see, that's going to stick on there eventually, so I'm just going to put a bit of paint on the sides as well. The way I can do that is hold it in the middle and then paint the little edges all the way around. Turn it around. And turn it around again. So I've got it painted all the way around the little edges. And we'll let that dry off over there for a minute. And just always wash your brushes. Keep them safe for later. Okay, then if you remember your roof piece, which was 8 centimeters was for one side and 12 centimeters was for the other side. That's the long side of my roof. Now you can see I've got a little bit over the edges there, so now that they've dried off, I'm just going to trim them down a little bit if there's a couple sticking out. And I did the same thing with the bricks, but with the roof tiles, they actually sit on top of one another. So you start off at the bottom and you put your first row on. And then you start in a little bit to do your next row. So they're staggered. That's what you call staggered. So the gap between these two will always be above a tile. So that's, if you look out and look at the roof of your own house and see how the tiles are laid out. And the reason for that is so that the water runs down off your roof. And if you put them all with the gaps matching up, the water would leak through the gaps. So that's why you overlay them for one and stagger them as well, so that the water won't come in your roof. So we don't want these fairies getting wet. So with all your little roof tiles, same idea as the brickwork, but they are actually, the second row is slightly on top of the first row, the third row slightly on top of the row in front of it. So they just barely tip one over the other, piece by piece, okay? Until you, so you start at the bottom because that's the way you would lay a roof. The first row of tiles are always on the bottom, and then work your way up to the ridge of your roof. And the same on the other side. Start at the bottom, overlap them, and work the way up to the ridge of your roof. So our lovely little house now can get its roof on it. And I'm going to use the hot glue with that. So I'm going to stick plenty of hot glue on here. And a bit around this side too. And a nice bit along the top of the roof, because that's exactly how I want it to go on. I'm going to hold it down a minute. It's looking pretty good already, isn't it? So that's looking very nice. Very nice indeed. There's one other thing that's missing off this roof. So if my little fairies inside it was a bit of a chilly day or the middle of winter and they wanted to light their little fireplace, they'll need a chimney in their roof. So if you go back to your out boxes that you were using and get a grown-up to cut off one of the center stay pieces. This is where your eggs sit in. So there's a little kind of pyramid piece holding the center of the box up. So you can cut one of those off and then get them to cut it at a slant. So it'll have been cut straight and cut off a piece, and then we can stick it. I punched out the top of it as well, so the smoke will come out of that, and I can stick it on my roof. So I'm going to do that before I go any further and let it stay there. So that'll be a little chimney on my roof. Looks pretty cute, doesn't it? Very good. So that's all looking pretty good. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to drop that down there. I'll lay it on that for the moment to keep it from sticking to anything on me. I'm going to paint a layer of paint onto my door, and I'd like to paint my door a nice bright yellow. So this will probably take 1 or 2 coats. So that's why I'm going to start and give it a good coat now, and I'll paint it a couple of times so it'll be lovely and bright. And maybe if you have any nice little, if you look at any old birthday cards or any old pictures that you have, you might be able to cut something off them, like if there was a little butterfly or ladybird or love heart or anything you can stick on the door. Or sometimes I find there's little beads or buttons or things like that that you'd never know you had, old broken earrings or something like that, where there could be a nice little piece that you could stick on the front of the door like a little decoration. So just gave that coat of paint and I'm going to let it dry there. Again, obviously wash out my brush because I'm going to need it now. So I'm going to need, well, I'm actually going to use a bigger brush now because I'm going to start painting my roof tiles. And with my roof tiles, I'm going to go with a brown first, and then possibly go a bit paler over it, so that you have different kind of paint effects. So I have two different coloured browns here. I'm just going to mix them a wee bit, and I don't have to mix them all the way in because I want it to be a bit streaky paint. So with my big brush like this, I'm going to pop my paint on a bit like that. Oh, I know what I forgot as well. After all my talk about it, I better stick it on before I continue. Remember I said that this part of the roof is called the ridge. So what we're going to do is, and I said keep the edge of the egg box because it was a bendy corner. Oh, I forgot to stick that on the top. So what I'm going to do is decide how much I need, just tear it off, and a little bit of glue along there, and stick this on. So I'm going to finish up this video now. What I'm going to do is let all the grey paint dry. I'm going to paint up the roof with the brown. So I'll do a darkish brown first, roughly with the brush, and then I'll probably do another brown with the brush, dryish brush as well. So do you see what I mean about your nice ridge tile all the way along? Finishes off your roof very well. It's looking really, really good. And one other thing, I'm going to paint my chimney in the grey as well to match in with the stone, so it'll stand out against my roof. We're nearly there. Bit more decorating to do at the end of it, and we'll see how it looks and stick on our bits and pieces. Bye!